Hi everyone. A subscriber asks me, can you please put out a video of an edited pressure and challenge segment? Maybe. And then the questioner, I feel like I'm not giving it enough oomph, but I also don't want to take it overboard. Also, a video about character defenses would be great. All right. Well, the video you're asking for, that's a maybe. I'll see what I can do. The thing about pressure and challenge is a really large, vast area and topic. But a few comments. You want to make sure that you have a foundation of a conscious therapeutic alliance, meaning that the patient has to consciously want to face what they customarily avoid, and they have to see that that is their shot at freedom from their symptoms. So that needs to be the foundation. Once you have that, once the patient is conscious of the link between their symptoms and their defenses, and they unequivocally, consciously declare that they wish to forego those defenses and let go of those symptoms in favor of facing feelings and other avoided psychic material, then you can really begin to amp up pressure, and with sufficient clarification work, also begin to introduce challenges. When you have turned this corner and you have a real conscious alliance in place and you begin to ramp up pressure, it's important for several reasons to have some energy, some oomph, to use your terminology, and some feeling in your tone, in your voice. So if the patient is here, you don't want to be here, but you sometimes want to boost their affect and the stimulus to their affect by going, let's say, here. So the person was vicious towards you, so let's see how you feel towards them. So you hear the energy and the oomph in my voice. When we're doing emotion-focused work, it's important to convey to the client that you can handle their emotions. And that's one of the more effective ways of doing that, is to not be flat when you're asking about their affect. Show a little energy, show a little of emotion, have a little bit of an edge and a firmness in your tone, and that will convey to the client that it's okay for them to face their feelings. So in a sense, you're modeling for the client what it's like to tap into and access their strength and their energy. When it comes to boosting, like I said, there are two levels of it. You can either boost the stimuli, the stimulus to affect, and you do that by really underscoring whatever that stimulus is. So this person was really rude to you, right? Or they were vicious towards you, or they abandoned you. Okay, so you throw some gasoline, you really underscore and you boost the stimulus, whatever it is. You'll never see this person again. So it's an eternal goodbye. So that's a way of boosting the stimuli to the feeling. But then boosting the feeling itself. Sometimes you can do that by, if they say that they're angry and they're engaged and in the swing of things, amp it up. So you're enraged, right? Or they say they're annoyed. So you mean you're really angry. So that's how to boost the feeling. And again, conveying energy, conveying some emotion in your own voice, in your tone, and in your own mannerisms, in your own body language. Okay? It's about modeling for the patient what it looks like to tap into your energy, to your feelings. It's going to let the client know you can handle their feelings. Now, in terms of your concern about not going overboard with pressure and with challenge, ensuring you have a strong foundation with a conscious therapeutic alliance, that in and of itself will go a long way and mitigate against whatever pitfalls and downfalls are involved with going overboard. But the key thing is to track your patient at all times. Meet them where they are in terms of the energy. If it makes sense clinically, try some boosting and go a little bit above them, a little bit more volume in your tone. But you don't want to go too far. You don't want to be out in front of your skis. Try a little bit of boosting, but generally then go to their level. When it comes to challenge, that can be discussed for hours and hours and hours. But let me just say a couple of words about the head-on collision. The thing with the head-on collision is that it has multiple usages and multiple functions. It can be used as a way of continuously, unremittingly amping up pressure and challenge towards an unlocking. Where every defense is blocked and then more pressure is applied. But what often isn't quite known, or at least it's not discussed that much that I have heard, is how the head-on collision, used in a permissive sense without real pressure, actually is what cements the conscious therapeutic alliance. So as most of you know, I'm sure, every patient, every client enters the therapy with conflicting feelings, in a state of ambivalence. The forces of the resistance, the part of the patient that wants to avoid facing the truth of their feelings on the one side, and then the healthy part of the patient, what we often call the unconscious therapeutic alliance, the UTA, on the other. And these two forces are in opposition. There's a real tension between these two forces. And if we do our work right, then the tension between these two forces will begin to increase. We're going for, ultimately we're going for that intrapsychic crisis point where the scales tip and the unconscious therapeutic alliance takes the upper hand and the resistance begins to go into abeyance. But before we get to that tipping point, as the resistance begins to crystallize and really form a barrier, and the patient becomes conscious of that, we often want to bring this to the patient's attention and really underscore what's going on in a way that brings it into bold relief, to crystallize what's happening, to use Scorman's terminology. And that often sounds like, so there's two forces within you that are battling it out. The force that wants to keep this wall up, this barrier, and perpetuate your symptoms until the day you die, and then the part of you that is fed up and sick and tired and wants to be free and wants to have a wonderful life or a happy life or whatever. And these two forces are battling inside of you. Can you experience that? Really anchor that awareness in the patient, and then simply putting the patient at choice. I think that's the way Coughlin puts it, but the idea is to say, so what side are you on? Are you on the side that wants to keep the wall up, or on the side that wants to tear it down and reach your goals? And if the patient unequivocally declares that they're on the side that wants to take the wall down, and by the way, that declaration needs to be really convincing and charged. But if it's unequivocal and convincing, and they say, yes, I want to take down the wall, at that point, the conscious therapeutic alliance has been fully cemented. Okay. But if their response is anything short of an unequivocal, charged, resounding yes, I'm on the side of taking down the wall, then there's still the ambivalence. And a lot of therapists miss that, and they take yes for an answer when the yes is actually an ambivalent yes, where the patient isn't fully behind that yes. And so you want to learn how to pick up on that and say things like, you're saying yes, but it doesn't sound that charged. It sounds like you're still on the fence and not fully behind it. All right, then lastly, your question about character defenses. Basically, character defenses refer to what we do customarily, what has become a long-standing habit around avoiding feelings internally and avoiding allowing people close to us. I think more often than not, character defenses are referred to as a form of resistance against emotional closeness. It's what we do to repel others and keep that emotional distance, the barrier or the wall. But it's characterological in the sense that it's become a part of our character through long-standing habit of repeated repetition. So defenses that are used so habitually and on such a recurring basis that they become part of how we are in the world and how we are in relationships. I believe that it's Fredrickson who has sort of added an additional meaning, which I believe has to do with the way we treat ourselves and relate to ourselves, that is also replicating or repeating how genetic figures treated us when we grew up. So that's another layer of meaning. Character defenses, they occur at all points in the spectrums, the psychoneurotic spectrum, the fragile spectrum. Character defenses can be immature, regressive, primitive, or they can be more mature and sophisticated. Anywhere from isolation of affect, characterologically detaching from ourselves, from other people. It could be compliance, defiance, passivity, intellectualizing, but they can also involve projections and splitting and more primitive defenses, if that's a core way through which we move through the world and in which we are in relationships. So the quick and dirty version is that this is basically a reference to how we habitually relate to ourselves and to others. That will be all for now. Thanks again for the question. I don't know what this says about me, but this is actually fun for me. I enjoy this sort of a thing, so do feel free to keep them coming. Questions, comments,